It is a grief for us. It's a terrible, terrible time for us.
The Delettes do not care. Shame on both of you. I am so traumatized and so affected by this. What I'm dealing with is that I didn't do enough.
Alrighty, today's video is going to be a little heavy. We are going to be talking about the untimely passing of a fitness competitor, the organization that he was a part of, as well as the event that he passed away at, and some of the just egregious mishandlings of that organization with that event, as well as other things that have been going on with the organization. On August 11th, 2023, the fitness competitor Rich Henderson actually collapsed off stage right after he got done competing at a WBFF event, and it later was found out that he actually did pass away after he had collapsed. Now, this actually happened right in front of a lot of competitors that were getting ready to step on stage and compete, and one of those competitors was actually one of my close friends, Alex Poro92 on Instagram. We've been friends for a long time, and I actually had met up with him only a few days or maybe a week after he competed, and we had talked a little bit about this thing that happened, but I don't think, and I think he would even agree, that he really fully had understood what had gone on and fully comprehended it and dealt with it when we talked about it. And so I remember speaking to him about it, and as the days went on and as a few weeks had passed, this event actually started to become talked about more on social media, and there has been a lot of backlash and a lot of people that have had shared their feelings about the event, as well as the WBFF, who was this, the organizer of the event, and some of the mishandlings of what had happened that night. So a little bit about Rich. From everyone that I have talked to and all of the posts that I've seen online, everyone seemed to really like him. Alex he had actually hung out with him a few times, and they actually shared a dressing room the night for that show that they were competing at. And Alex said, they talked quite a bit, and, he was really excited for him. And then Rich was also really excited for Alex. From all accounts, it just seemed like he was a genuine guy that a lot of people really loved, and a lot of people that had competed in different events with the WBFF really respected, and they were just, fans of him. Now, one of the biggest issues that a lot of people have brought to light is that there were no emergency personnel at the event at all. At least that's what people are saying. Obviously, I wasn't there, but that's what a lot of people are saying. There was no one there to handle if something like this happens. Now, it's important to understand that this people collapsing at bodybuilding shows is not super out of the ordinary. This is something that actually does happen, not all the time, but it's not unheard of. So it absolutely makes sense to have personnel there to handle something like this happening. So speaking of that, I want to bring up this article from The Sun. Now, obviously, this isn't the most the highest name in reporting, but I do think that it's very interesting. So this article talks about an ex-bodybuilder who is known as Freakenstein, has revealed he saw his dog in an open space after he died for a minute. So what's very interesting about this is that this man, his name is Paul Dillette. Now, why am I telling you this? Well, Paul Dillette is the owner of the WBFF. He is the one in charge of the event that Rich passed away at. Now, what is very interesting is that this is someone that he was a professional bodybuilder at one point, and he passed out on stage and had medical professionals there that probably saved his life. So a little bit in this article, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but this is about halfway through the article. It says, he tried to complete the double biceps pose, but his muscle seized. He tried to reassure the crowd, Dillette said, I'm not delirious or anything. It's just a muscle spasm. He then tried to complete the pose for a second time around 25 minutes later. Dillette reportedly screamed, "Oh God," as marshals and medics rushed to the sportsman's aid. The 270-pound athlete was then stretchered off the stage and rushed to the hospital. So I think that is very, very interesting the fact that the man that owns this event, that is throwing this, that is putting this on, had his life saved at a very similar event by medical professionals that were, I'm assuming, there because the event knew this was something that could happen. And so they had the proper precautions in place to make sure that they could help as much as possible. So because there were no medical professionals there, they had to rely on someone that just had CPR training. And that person actually ended up being another competitor that was actually competing in the transformation division, which is the division that my friend Alex competes in as well. And so basically, I am going to share this video and I'm going to talk, I'm going to react to it, but I just want to make it clear, like, this can be very triggering. It's an intense video. This is someone that tried to save someone's life. And so there's a lot of emotion. So I just want to make that very, very clear here. But I think it's important to share the aftermath of what happened at this show and how it affected people that were there. And so this is Andrea right here, and I'm just gonna let her share her story. All right, this is clipped a little bit and like spliced together because this is about 28 minutes worth of footage that we have condensed down a little bit just for the sake of brevity. So if you wanna watch the whole thing, there will be links in the description to make sure so you don't feel like you're missing out on any important details, okay?
I was in the transformation division in Vegas back on August 11th. I have competed with the WBFF since 2015. I've been in the transformation division due to life situations. Weight's gone up, gone down, gone up, gone down. And I thought no better reason than to throw myself into workouts and put myself out there for the world to see and to compete with this organization. I was the one who was pulled out of line to administer CPR to Rich Henderson.
So she goes on to explain a little bit more in this clip where she talks about how it kind of happened. So she is a 911 dispatch caller, so that's why she is trained in CPR, and she talked about how she's helped tons of people, talk to them through giving someone CPR, but obviously it was very different when you are doing it yourself. And so she was pulled out of line. Okay, I just want to make this clear. Pulled out of line right before she is supposed to go on stage while she's in her heels. Again, she mentions all this. She's in her heels. She's in her, her bikini, and she is basically, they're just like, help, right? And of course, as anyone would, she tries to help, of course, right?
I am a 911 dispatcher. I have been for about 8 years. It's something that I truly love to do. It's something that I feel like I'm meant to do. I have given CPR instructions over the phone countless times, countless. But giving CPR instructions over the phone and actually having to do it are two completely different animals. And standing in line, and next thing I know, I see a security guard come flying backstage. And I didn't know. I thought there was just something going on, something electrical. Honestly, I was like, oh, well, something's happening. Then I hear that somebody is having an asthma attack. And then almost in the same breath, somebody's having a seizure. And then one of the backstage staff members came flying out and said, does anyone know CPR? And it was like somebody raised my hand. It's just a knee-jerk reaction. You just raise your hand. It's what you do. And I'm in my 2-piece and 5-inch heels, and I go flying over to this man who is lying on his back. And at that moment, I'm trying to think of all my training, everything that I've gone through to do what I do for a living. And I said, if he's having a seizure, get him on his side. And they did. And he was foaming at the mouth and gasping for air. And I remember asking if he had a pulse. Did anybody check for a pulse? And I checked myself on his wrist and I didn't feel anything. I checked on his neck and I didn't feel anything. So I flipped him over on his back, and a lot of this is blank from my memory. It's a trauma response. It's normal. And when the paramedics got there, I put my hands up and I stood up. I had them take over. And I was told to get back in line. How you're supposed to perform after that, I don't.
It's not even like, yes, it's not even just her. It's like everyone saw this, right? Everyone that was in line is looking at this happening. The fact that they didn't slow the show down, they didn't stop it, right? I would think you'd stop the show, but the fact that they didn't even slow it down, they just kept it going, is mind-boggling to me. Like, obviously, I'm not a show promoter, but that is crazy. That is crazy to me. Like, yes, a lot of people worked really hard, and they paid a lot of money, which we'll get into in a bit. But to just be like, the show must go on, keep it moving, while someone is literally really struggling, right? They end up passing away, and you just keep it going, is crazy to me.
No, like, I don't know how you're supposed to go out and put on a smile on your face when you're waiting backstage and you see paramedics giving chest compressions and getting an AED ready to shock somebody to bring them back. And I remember Alex, who won my division and absolutely 1000% deserved to win, like, he's amazing, turned around and grabbed my hands and said, "You were in the right place at the right time. You were meant to be there for him." And just looked at him and I said, "What just happened?" And I had to go out on stage and do my walk and everything else. And when I got to the other part of my T-walk, my body just started convulsing, started shaking. And it was like, what just happened?
So, like I said, obviously it's a very heavy video. And like I said, there's a lot more to it. But I felt like those were some good parts of obviously sharing what she went through. But just, I think the ridiculous levels of just negligence by the company just being like, yeah, let's just keep it going. Well, that's too bad. That is insane to me, truly. Again, huge thank you to Andrea for sharing your story. I am very, very sorry that you went through that, but I do appreciate you just being honest and sharing exactly what happened and just being very vulnerable online. This is obviously not easy. So again, if you are curious, there will be links in the description so you can check out those videos and get the full story. Now I want to take some time and talk about the WBFF and the people and the accusations that people have had. And so when this first happened, there actually was basically radio silence. No one had said anything. It was almost like an unspoken rule. And I was actually kind of curious. So I went to their Instagram, the WBFF's Instagram, and this is their Instagram right here. And so I was looking, and so this post right here that I'm hovering over is from the night, August 11th. And I counted, and there was 25 posts. All of these posts were posted before this one right here, which is a video of the owners talking about it finally. There's 25 posts before they mentioned it at all. And that was very concerning to a lot of people, a lot of, obviously friends and family of Rich, as well as just other competitors that had seen it happen. And then it was just treated like this, we don't talk about it. Nothing happened, tried to be swept under the rug. And as you can see with their Instagram now, there's this official statement of change, and there's all these like notes. And these are responses. Finally, the first one from September 1st, again, this happened August 11th, right? And so they finally respond to it almost a month later because of the backlash they were getting when people finally started talking about what had happened to Rich and the terrible response they had. And so this was not a quick response by any means. There was a lot of time between it happening and them actually making a statement about it. There have been tons of videos about different accusations and, people claiming that they're not paying their vendors and they're not doing certain things that are supposed to be happening. And there's also been posts about the fact that they have like a kids competition, and there are some interesting people that are maybe following that account because they have photos of these children, which obviously I'm not going to post. And that's a whole nother story for a whole nother video, maybe not for my channel, I don't know, right? And so there have been a lot of people that it seems like, that have felt like they have been slighted, or they have been upset with how this company has been running things for a long time, and they finally have started speaking up. And so there's been just a huge wave of, I don't even want to call it backlash, but people finally speaking their minds, because a lot of what people were saying was basically, if you spoke your mind and said, hey, I don't love how this is being handled, you were basically blacklisted from this federation. Your chances of getting a pro card, which is a lot of people's biggest dream, were dashed. And so you basically had to stay in line, and if you spoke bad at all, it was game over for you. And so people finally seeing other people stand up started also standing up and saying, hey, I'm not okay with how this has been running. And this seemed to be a catalyst for maybe change, who knows, right? So a lot of former competitors brought up the issues that they have. And finally, after quite a long time, on September 2nd, as you can see here, they finally released this statement of change, right? And they go on to share a ton. I'm not really interested in all of there should be different judges and yada, yada, yada. That's not what I'm interested in this video. It's all important stuff. Again, you can look into it all you want for yourself. But I do think it's interesting that one of the things they finally bring up is number 6 here: medical staff and emergency procedures. An essential medical emergency protocol will be uniformly implemented and upheld at all forthcoming WBFF events. A comprehensive policy will guide all event personnel in responding effectively should unforeseen circumstances arise. Moreover, the backstage area will consistently be staffed with qualified medical personnel, ensuring preparedness and prompt attention to any exigencies. I don't know what that word is. Please follow the link in our bio, and they link the GoFundMe. And so I do think that it's so interesting that this wasn't already there, because again, the owner of this event and the whole organization is someone whose life was saved in the same exact way. Like, that is, to me, the craziest part about this. Like, that this wasn't already something that was implemented. It is just, it really is a tragedy. Like, that's what this, for me at least, that's what this is all about. The fact that this could have been prevented, and the person that was in charge of maybe making this not happen had such a intimate connection to this, and they still just didn't care, or they were, a lot of people are saying that they just didn't want to pay for it. I don't know. I'm not going to make that claim, but I just think that is the most tragic part of this entire situation. So in summary, with this whole situation, I think that it has shined a light on the competing scene, whether it's bodybuilding, physique, fitness, whatever, federation, whatever part that you're in. It shined a light on that. And I think that more and more we have seen just, this is an extreme sport, right? This can be very unhealthy for a lot of people. It can cause a lot of issues, and as well as it can be so expensive. The amount that some of these competitors were paying between $300 to $700 just to compete, and then on top of that, they have to pay for the tans that were only allowed by the WBFF. You had to go through them. You had to go through them for the swimsuit. You had to go through them for this. You had to go through them for that. It was all money that was funneled to this organization, and a lot of people have issue with that. It's just is this really like, what is this? Is it just a cash grab? Does it really, do these organizations really care about the competitors? With a lot of the stuff that we haven't talked about today, a lot of people are saying, like, it doesn't seem like they do, right? There is so much other stuff that I did not bring up, that I did research on, but I just didn't feel like it was necessary, and I really wanted to focus on Rich and his story. But there's just so much, and it really is just such a tragedy that this happened, and it's sad that was what it took to finally see some change in this organization that so many people had so many issues with for so many years, and they just felt like there was nothing they could do about it. It really is just a really sad situation. To end the video, I do want to say there is a GoFundMe for Rich, for his funeral, and for all of that stuff. So that will be the first link down in the description. If you are compelled to want to donate to that, I'm sure the family would really, really appreciate it. It's a really sad story, but I do think it's one that needs to be told, and more people need to know about this. And if you're thinking about competing, hopefully, you really do your research before you decide to go down that road, because it can be very dangerous and there are risks that are involved. And so I hope that anybody that decides to take that step does it with the right motivation, as well as understanding the risks that are involved. Thank you so much for watching. I'm sorry this was a heavy video, but it was hard for me to make. It's kind of scary talking about this stuff that's so serious, but I think it's important. And so I hope I did a good job of sharing Rich's legacy, and just it not being too sensationalized. I just wanted to really talk about the facts. And so I hope I did a good job there. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.